Another so-called satellite fell down in the countryside of Brazil. There are no satellites in space. They are all hanging on helium balloons.
Não, não mexe não, isso aqui não vai mexer não, porque isso aqui, eles estão à procura disso aqui já.
É que já?
Já mesmo.
Eu acho que não tem câmera ligada aí, pô, porque se não...
Não, tá tudo desligado, quebrou tudo.
Quebrou tudo, aquela foi grande aí, ó.
Quebrou tudo.
Vocês estragou aí. Colega, sei que... Pra me chegar com esse até aqui, eu sofri demais, ó. Lá pega logo no boto mais colocar aqui. É de soltar a cor de cima, pô. A cacá do outro lado não tem o cor dela, né? Grande. Acho que tem rola. Você dá uma olhada. Olha, gambiarra aí. Uma farinha ali aí, mas... Tá no satélite. Ele disse que era pra embarcar essa segunda.
É.
This is how this trick works. If you understand anything about filmmaking, you will know that this is an easy trick to perform. They film him descending vertically, and then edit the footage as being horizontally. If only the people knew all the camera tricks they use while pretending they are in space, or in the ISS, but people don't know how these tricks are made. The cameraman is facing upwards while he is hanging on wires. The set is to make people believe they are on a horizontal module, while in fact, they are on a film set being filmed from the ground up. NASA has a budget of $22 billion a year. They hire the best professionals, the best filmmakers, the best editing professionals, the best cameras, movie set, etc. It's just a deception. As long as the public don't care and don't research, they can get away with it. This world is not what you think it is, and that's the truth.
Dear NASA, it's becoming 100% crystal clear that you and the other space programs that are in operation are connected and are deceiving the entire world. More and more people are waking up every single day, and we are now able to see right through you.
Someone said, that's not a Space Force hat, when I showed that upside down makes a Baphomet. And this guy says the dummies will believe anything because no one takes 2 seconds to research anything. Don't make me put it in your Walmart shopping cart, little buddy.
This is called augmented reality. I can reproduce what the astronauts do inside the ISS in my living room. The difference is my augmented reality costs less than $1,000 while NASA has a budget of $60 million a day. Most people cannot tell the difference, and if it's done inside the fake ISS they have in Houston, Texas, not a single person could tell the difference. Just imagine the technology they have hidden and will use with Project Blue Beam. Most people are not interested in learning the truth. That's why the Bible says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee." If you reject the truth of the flat earth, you most likely to fall for the great deception of the end times.
If you think about any of the debates that you have with flat earth, look at who the ignorant people are who are calling somebody a name. It is the globers. Truth literally is not scared of investigation and or researching something. Tell me right now, have you ever seen a flat earther who is just blatantly being disrespectful? No, it's always the globers. It's always the normal people. It's always the people who have never done the research, okay? Don't come at us, okay? Don't come at us when we've done our research.
El sol acarició mi corazón con flores, me llevaste mi tristeza con colores, dibuja
international fake station has a cardboard floppy door, while any submarine has reinforced doors to withstand the air pressure. How can globe-tards be so gullible to the point they believe anything NASA puts out? It's a mockery on them, and yet they worship NASA blindly. A reminder for you globe-tards, NASA just got another $60 million today. Money that could be used for real education and real health care, not in jabs for the sheeple.
Did you know that landlines can call to other planets? You didn't know that? Okay, so I'll tell you, in 1969, President Richard Nixon, the President of the United States, had a phone call, live stream, directly to the moon, to the astronauts or actronauts in the moon landing, and Richard Nixon from the White House called from this landline. Nowadays, I cannot even call my mom in certain areas with my cell phone. This was 1969. So, whenever you're feeling a little stupid, remember that people believe that Richard Nixon called the moon from this landline and they transmitted the call, even though, on top of that, live on TV. They lied to us.
When you take a trip out for the day and the flat earth hits you in the face.
Every July the 8th, the spinning ball Earth concept gets destroyed. Look at the glober in the image below trying to make this work out on the globe. It's impossible. It's impossible for the sun to wrap around 3/4 of a ball. It only makes sense on the flat Earth. You cannot have the tip of South America lit by the sun at the same time the whole Asia and the far north of Russia and Canada and the United States are all lit by the sun. The globe is dead. It's time we ask NASA to reimburse taxpayers for all the money they have stolen since its creation, in 1958.
I just debunked Eratosthenes with my iPhone first generation. That crackpot may have never existed. Most of our history is fake.
The Bible describes Earth as covered with a firmament. That's why it is impossible for anyone to travel to space. Just look at the tombstone of NASA founder Wernher von Braun. It has a very interesting biblical passage inscribed on it. Let's look in our Bibles and see what it says. Let's now open our Bibles and see what it says. It says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament show us his handwork." This world is ruled by evil people, members of secret societies. The earth is flat and they do everything they can to hide this truth from us.
Water needs to be contained, otherwise it would spill all over. They came up with gravity, but if gravity was real, no birds or butterflies would be able to fly. Gravity is just a theory, that's all.
Anyways, y'all remember this movie right here? Pretty sure they're trying to tell us something, but what do I know? This video is going to show you how they hide the ice wall from the tourists who actually take a tour to supposedly Antarctica. And there's only 2 tour routes from 2 different countries, and you're going to be amazed. Once I went to the original flat earth map from 1892, it was easy to figure out how they do it. I'm going to show you guys. Enjoy the video.
Okay, here we have the flight and cruise route for a tour to Antarctica from Planet Janet Travels. Let me zoom in on that a little better where you guys can see it. There we go. Okay, now let's switch over to this map of the route so you can see the names. It leaves out of Cape Horn, goes past the South Shetland Islands, along the Antarctic tail, and then back up. Now this right here would be the South Shetland Islands on Google Maps. And then, of course, there's the little tail of Antarctica. There's a panned out view for you guys to see it a little better. But pay attention to the tail of that Antarctica. It's going to be really important in a minute. Here's another view of the route. See how it goes along the edge of that tail, and then they turn around and they go back. Okay, now here's where things get interesting. Let's look at the 1892 flat Earth map. Now, this right here is South America. So let's zoom in here where you guys can see this. Now here's the route. There's Cape Horn, where they leave from. And as you can see right down below that, you have the South Shetland Islands. Okay, and then you have the ice wall, of course. But notice this little tail right here. Well, that's the same tail that you see on the continent Antarctica that they show you on the globe, which is pretty slick. But anyways, this little part right here, this is the little area that they travel along and call it the Antarctica, which is only a tiny little bit. So the route goes this way. It goes through the Shetland Islands, comes down through here, past these little islands, then turns around and goes back to Cape Horn. And if you'll notice on this map how the ice wall looks, well, down here where they supposedly tour at, this is the only part of the little ice wall that sticks out in that area. So you'd be stationed there working, or take a tour and you would never really see the ice wall. You only see that little piece of it that sticks out, because of the rest of Antarctica is off limits. Now let's have a look at the only other tour that you can take to Antarctica, which goes from South New Zealand and back to Tasmania. Now notice, I want you to pay attention to that little Stewart Island there as you leave New Zealand. Notice they go down here to what they call Commonwealth Bay, and then they cruise along a little bit, turn around and go back to Tasmania. Okay, now let's have a look at that route on the flat Earth map. Here we have South New Zealand, and notice right there on the other side of it, you see that little Stewart Island that I was telling you guys to look at on the Google map. Okay, so the route leaves here, goes down here, which on this flat Earth map it says Disappointment Bay. Remember on the Google Earth map it says Commonwealth Bay, and then they go back, return to Tasmania. So anyways, like I said, they leave here, go along this little bitty tiny bulge that sticks out from the ice wall called Commonwealth Bay, Disappointment Bay, whatever. Notice it's the only part in the ice wall except for the other part that I showed you that bulges out away from the ice wall. So anyways, they go down through here, cruise along a little bit, and then return back to Tasmania. That way you never see the ice wall. You only see that little bulge of it that's sticking out there out of this whole map. Most of this wall is cut out perfectly all the way around except for those two little spots. And they both bulge out, and then they're at the exact same spot at the bottom of both of those countries, just like it shows you on Google Maps. Now, as you can see, it's really, really simple how they pull it off, making you believe that Antarctica is a continent when it's not. That's why it's called the Antarctic Circle, because it's an ice wall, a circled ice wall, all the way around the whole world. And I've had a lot of people say, well, I've had friends that worked there and they didn't see any ice wall, or were stationed there actually, and I'm sure they were stationed there, but they were only stationed in those two little bitty areas that I just showed you. And that's also the only two little areas that you can take a tour to. And the rest of, and I say this in quote when I say Antarctica, is restricted, off limits to the public, to anybody. And that's due to the 1958 Antarctic Treaty. That's because they have something to hide. They know if you went anywhere other than those two spots, you would realize that you're on an ice wall. And even a lot of flat earthers, a lot of my friends of mine always wondered, well, how do they pull it off? How do people not know? And that's exactly how, the way that I just showed you.
And just takes a little bit of research, especially if you have the flat earth map. Now, going back to the tourists and the people who have been stationed there, I have a lot of people say, oh, well, those people would be able to see that ice wall if they were there. Well, if you were to say that, then you definitely have no concept of the reality around you. And what I mean by that is you cannot see the other side of town from your side of town, even in a small town. Now, let's take Cape Horn, for example. Measuring only 5 miles in length, it is small in size but large in reputation. Okay, so Cape Horn is 5 miles in size. So if you're driving down the road from the human perspective, you can only see about 3 miles to the horizon. You can't see anything past that. And that's a proven fact. So let's go over here to the flat earth map and look at Cape Horn, which is right here. Okay, now let's put a little red dot on Cape Horn, which is as big as 5 miles. Okay, now let's take that same little red dot and put over here on the tip of the ice wall, or the so-called Antarctica. Remembering that human perspective, you can only see about 3 miles ahead of you and all the way around you. So there's no way that you would ever know that you're on an ice wall. You would just think you were at the edge of a continent like you were told. Now, if you can't comprehend that, I don't know what to tell you. You need to go back to school and start over with the crayons, because it's really, really simple. Anyways, hope that helped you guys out. Thanks for watching, and God bless.
The flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer, Al-Biruni, who lived between 975 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Eddie Alenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store today and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.